Yeah, so to not completely rip off your series, 10 Questions with Kyle Brandt, I thought it might be fun to kind of turn the tables on you and you be the contestant rather than, the host and, question master. I don't have any fancy graphics, sound effects. There's no lifelines waiting unless Barry wants to hop in and give you hands.
Sure.
Um, and, based on time restrictions, I figured we'll do about 5 questions instead of 10.
Okay. Let's do them.
So yeah, if you're ready and not completely turned off by this idea, I figured.
No, this is like someone turns to Pat Sajak and like, hey, Pat, why don't you solve the puzzle, smart guy? Let's see. Let's try
Yeah.
it.
Do you want to buy a vowel, or are you gonna
I
solve?
don't
So
know. I listen. I may go over right here. This is great. I'm already nervous, which is the whole point of 10 questions. Make the contestant nervous, and you got him.
oh no, I don't want you to be nervous. I wanted this
Oh
to be
no, I
like a
am.
casual, fun thing, but
Not a
okay.
chance, dude. I'm like on that 17th at Sawgrass. I'm terrified.
All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see with this first question. So the category is animals, right? I figure that's kind of a nice, easy one to start with.
Okay.
Tigers are the largest cat species in the world and the third largest carnivore on land. What other two animals are larger meat eaters than tigers? And to help you out, bear in mind they're two species of the same animal.
See, all right. You already made it hard because you asked for two answers. So you're already getting greedy. And then I thought that you had a slip of the tongue there where you said bear in mind. And I thought maybe it's a bear because that can happen. You give away the answer if it's on the tip of your tongue. But hold on. Two animals that are larger meat eaters, carnivores than the tiger, and they're both the same species of the same animal?
Yeah, they're different species of the same animal, and
Well,
these are the land animals.
I would think the lion would be one. Um, but then how there's different species of, oh, maybe there's well, there's like the mountain lion, the Detroit lion. But I don't know. This is hard. All right. See, when I'm in your position, I always want the person to get the first one right because it helps the gimmick and it gets the ball
Yeah.
rolling. And
Okay.
sometimes
Well,
they don't.
and you said, I thought this was an easy one. Oh, kind of easy.
You always
You,
do.
you you brought up a good point about something I said that you thought was a slip of tongue, but it was actually me trying to help you out without helping you out.
All right. I think they're both bears and they're grizzly bears and polar bears.
So you went from lions and Detroit Lions
Yep.
to now getting the answer. It's polar bears and brown bears, which in North America can be known as grizzly bears.
Oh,
So you're
yes.
exactly right.
Great. Oh, see, I'm so happy. I'm from Chicago, so I came to my roots and I went with the Bears. Finally, the Bears won the big one for me after all my devotion.
They paid off. They paid off. So yeah, I would try to be as clever as you are and come up with some questions that played into different things. So I brought up Tigers because you played at Princeton for the
Yeah.
Princeton Tigers, right? The connection's kind of
Well
there.
done.
Thank you. It gets worse from here. What talk about your college experience? You played football, but then you weren't just interested in football, you were also interested in theater. And I was reading a story that The Athletic wrote about you that, there was times that you were leaving practice early to go to auditions and rehearsals. So what was that whole experience like trying to juggle, not one, but potentially two major interests and professions?
Respect you doing the research. You read the biblical Jeff Pearlman piece that I think lasts longer than a college experience. Jeff really emptied the bag on that. Unbelievably flattering profile. And thank you for the question. Something struck me when I was a senior in high school that I just started resenting being the jock, and I was. I had the letter jacket, I had the Jeep Wrangler, I had the entire 8 disc CD changer. I think it was 8 Pearl Jam CDs, and there weren't even 8 albums out at the time. But like I had all the bootlegs and the live stuff, and that was just me. It was football, and it was Pearl Jam, and my friends, and looking for a girlfriend, and all that. And it was just like very one dimensional. And then I got to college and I got to be able to go to college in a really diverse place with a lot of different people, different ethnic backgrounds, different socioeconomic backgrounds. I was really submerged in that really quickly. And I'm like, I got to do something different. I wasn't raised this way to just be this meathead jock. Like, I want to do something different. And I auditioned for my first play ever when I was 19, the spring of my freshman year. I got in it. I liked it. immediately felt like I liked the audience, I liked the dialogue, I liked the stakes. Even the biggest movie stars in the world will tell you that the best thing that they do ever is live theater. They all say that. They all say it's the truest form of it. It is intoxicating. And then I just started, that's something I wanted to do. Around the same time, I was realizing that I was not even come close to being a professional football player, and not even close. So then I'm like, I think I want to do the acting thing. And I say that so self-aware of how, like, it sounds like a cliche and it just sounds like an eye roller, but I did want to do it. And the second I got out of Princeton, things got a little weird, but then eventually I got to LA and I did it for years. And I think the diversity of the college campus and me not wanting to be one dimensional is what led to it.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, and I love Jeff. I went to University of Delaware. He went to the school as well, but
Yeah.
a couple of years before me. Love everything he's done and all his books and everything like
He's the
that.
man.
So, no, of course, he wrote an amazing piece on you. So awesome,
It was pretty good.
awesome. Yeah, we'll dive into question two now, if you're
Okay.
ready. The category is history. According to legend, the Great Chicago Fire started when a cow kicked over a lantern in a bar on October 8th of this year, which led to approximately 300 deaths and an estimated $200 million in damages. So, what year did the Great Chicago Fire start?
See, the second you said the fire and the cow, I thought you were going to ask me whose cow is it, and the legend says that it is Mrs. O'Leary's cow, and that is the person who allegedly owned the cow. And I was ready to scream Mrs. O'Leary. I don't know the damn year. My mom would be so mad at me because my mom does Chicago architectural tours on the Chicago River. And she's what's called a docent, where they lead the tours, and she knows all of this stuff. Um, what's the year? Now, here's the way people panic on my show on 10 questions is they forget to stop and think that, okay, what does this have to do with me? Now, you're already on Chicago, but that could be the connective tissue alone. But I wonder if the year has something to do with me. I was born in 79. So I'm going to guess that the Chicago fire was started by Mrs. O'Leary's cow in 1879.
I like the thought process and
I'm
the
wrong.
deduction and how you get to it. Very close. I am very impressed how close you are. 1871 is the correct
Ah,
answer. And the only reason I know that is because I recently wrote a story about the Chicago Fire soccer team and how they're doing a big rebrand, and
yeah.
that whole legend and everything is part of it. But you did know, what is Mrs. O'Leary's first name though? I'll give you a bonus point if you get that right.
Mrs. O'Leary's. Well, this is an Irish woman. So I have a lot of the male Irish names at the tip of my tongue. I'm sure she was married to a Patrick or Seamus or something. But what
Patrick,
are
yeah, Patrick was her
female?
husband.
Is that true?
Yeah,
Patrick
Patrick.
O'Leary?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that sounds like the greatest pub of all time. What is the female Irish name? Is it like Francis or here, I'm just gonna guess. I'm gonna play the odds here. If she was married to Patrick O'Leary, I'm gonna guess that Mrs. O'Leary's name was Patricia.
It is not. It's Catherine.
Ah, Catherine. Yeah, that sounds Irish to me. Catherine O'Leary. That would
Patrick
never
and
have known
Catherine
that, but I'm
O'Leary.
learning something.
Yep, exactly. Hey, I knew nothing about this until I did my research for that story, and I figured pretty timely to ask you about Chicago,
Oh
which you
yeah,
obviously got from the beginning. So, with that, with Chicago, you were one of seven strangers picked to live in a house in
that's right.
2001 as part of MTV's The Real World Chicago. How do you get on that show? Why did you want to be on that show? And what was that experience like, especially filming during 2001 and the events of September 11th happening then?
There's a lot to unpack there, Mike. That's the cow kicked over a lot there. All right, I'll do my best. I got on that show because, and only because, as luck or misfortune would have it, the production company that makes The Real World came to campus my senior year at Princeton. They decided to make a casting call there. If it had been a mile away, if it had been at Rutgers that year, if they had just said, "Hey, Carson Daly here, everybody send in your application tapes," I never would have been on The Real World. Minimal effort is the reason, because it was 100 yards from where I slept at night. And so second semester senior with not a lot to do, had several beers, was a big fan of the show, as all college kids were at the time, and went to it just for laughs. Just moseyed over because I was tired of playing NCAA football and Zelda Ocarina of Time in my dorm room or wherever I was living at the time. And I went in, waited in line, got up there, did this like little conversation. Apparently they liked what I said. And then after like several callbacks and 2 flights across the country to Los Angeles, they picked me out of, they said it was 50,000 kids who auditioned for it. I can't even call it an audition. You basically just wait in line and submit your name. And they picked me. And then just again, by pure coincidence, it was in my hometown of Chicago, even though I was cast by way of New Jersey. So I got there 3 weeks after I graduated from college. I was there. I was in the house. I went in, and it was, a half hour from my parents, and I got in there. 4-month experience. The first 2 months are heaven. You're on MTV. This is amazing. I'm on the same network as TRL and Beavis and Butthead, and spring break, and this is gonna be so fun. And I'm attractive people, and there's booze here, and there's a hot tub. Awesome. And then it's just like the slogan of the show says: people stop being polite and start getting real right at that like 50-yard line. And the second 2 months, oh man, they're really stressful, and you can't leave unless you punch someone or do drugs, of which I didn't either. So really hard. I lost a bunch of weight during it, and listen, everybody who goes on that show has to deal with the cameras and the perfect casting they do to like cross your wires and make you have conflict and the confessional and all that stuff. We also had to deal with the attacks of September 11th. And look, everybody had a terrible, 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 cataclysmically bad day. We just had to do it on camera next to the co-ed showers when one of my roommates was a nudist the whole time. It was distracting, confusing, really weird. And, my sister was in Tribeca that day running in the streets. And so it was unbelievably terrifying. It was captured. And, again, the same network that gave us O-Town. So the the contrast was really sharp. Bizarre day.
What's kind of when you look back on that, and I know they're doing like, a reunion for the New York show and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Like do you look fondly back on that experience? Like, did that help shape you in terms of who you are today or kind of along your career path, which has had so many, twists and turns and unique stops
Yeah.
for you?
I've never thought of it this way, but that's a good question, because a lot of people who are now in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, their refrain is always, man, imagine if we had social media and smartphones back then. And man, imagine some of the stuff we were doing. It would all be captured. Can you even think about what that would have been like? And I'm like, I actually did have that portion of my life captured. It was on a show where I was filmed for 4 months, 24 hours straight. So these younger kids and these teenagers now who put everything online, as a parent now, you're terrified for them, and you're saying, oh, keep some things private, and how could you do that? I have no right to say that, because I volunteered to have my entire life doing it before everyone was doing it. And when I look back on it, I think I came off just terribly, like tight, nervous, insecure, pretentious, because that's how I felt at the time. I was really nervous and insecure. If I could go back and just be myself and just hang out and talk like I do, I think it would have been fine. But I was tight as a drum as I walked in there, man, because some people are made for that, just expose everything and being literally naked on camera. And here's my personal life, man. I was not into that. And I have a family that's more on the conservative side in that sense. And so it was tough. Like I said, stressful, lost weight, kind of depressed by the end. Don't get me wrong. A lot of drinking and partying for 2 months. Second half, disaster. It was basically like the Falcons had a 28-3 lead on the
I was
Patriots.
just thinking the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like we were celebrating and we beat Tom Brady, and oh my gosh, we're up by 25 points. The Falcons won the Super Bowl? No, they didn't. And then the second half, I blew that lead, and I thankfully I've gotten over it. I don't know if the Falcons have, but I've had 20 years. They haven't.
Yeah, and a lot more on-camera experience, obviously,
Yeah.
since then too, right?
Yeah, much different too. Like I'm in my home right now. The only camera is right here, and I'm allowing it to be. And if I want it to be off, I just close this. It doesn't follow me into the bathroom or any of that. It's much different. So yeah, Good Morning Football, all the 10 questions, like it's all what I want. It's not me screaming with my girlfriend on the phone. It's delightful.
Yeah. That control is in your hands, not in
Yeah,
somebody else's.
I like it that way.
Exactly. Awesome. All right, cool. Well, you're 1 for 2, if my
All
math
right,
serves me
yeah.
correctly. So not bad, 50-50. Question 3, and I don't know, maybe I woke up on the wrong side of the bed this morning. This is a tough one. Like part of me
Oh,
thinks
good.
it's easy. The other part of me thinks it's a little tough. So I'm just kind of building up that suspense,
Let's
like you
go.
mentioned before. So category 3 is opera. We'll see how cultured you are with your theater and background and everything like that.
Great.
I had no clue about this as well, but research helped. The Marriage of Figaro is a comic opera first performed in 1786. It is considered one of the greatest operas of all time. What Austrian was the composer? What famous Austrian was the composer
Arnold
of
Schwarzenegger.
The Marriage of Figaro in 1786?
Oh, he wasn't Schwarzenegger. I just thought
Yeah,
of
he's
famous
he's
Austrian.
he's old. He's old, but I don't think he's that old.
Um,
And I will be happy to give you a hint if you need one.
yeah, this is when I need my Ask a Millennial, because millennials love that 18th century opera. Um, all right, so who composed Figaro? Give me the hint. Yeah, come on. I mean, come on, Mike. What are you doing in here? The Chicago
Listen. I
Fire
didn't know.
year.
I didn't know if you're
It's
a big
supposed to be
opera
questions
buff.
about beer and family ties. Come on, what do you got? Give me the clue.
Listen, if just because 10 questions is easy doesn't mean my 5 questions are going to be easy.
The scores are curiously high during season 2 of 10 questions. Trust me, we're working on that. The next couple episodes are going to be brutal. What do you
Yeah,
got for
well,
my clue?
clearly, if you need some harder questions, let me know because this seems to be my expertise. Okay, uh, there's a song by an artist called Falco about this composer, and it was I can take it even further with
Okay,
the
I no
hint.
no no, hold on. Was it Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart?
That's
Well,
correct.
it is. Yes.
Yeah,
And you're talking about Rock
Wolfgang
Me
Rock
Amadeus?
Me Amadeus. Exactly.
Amadeus,
Yeah.
Amadeus,
Yep.
Amadeus, Amadeus, Amadeus. Oh, what a great clue. And I'm like, I think that's Falco. But wait, Falco is also the last name of Carmela Soprano actress. And am I confusing something with my Falco references? No. And wait, did Mozart really do Figaro? I don't know if he did opera. Didn't sound right when it came out of my mouth. I'm thrilled to know. And by the way, I want to thank you. This is so therapeutic for me. And they say if you want to interview people, you got to be interviewed a lot. Well, if you want to conduct a game show, you got to be a contestant. I don't know if Alex Trebek, God rest his soul, ever went over there and stood on contestants row and tried to win Jeopardy. I don't know if he did, but I'm glad I'm doing this. This is
Hey,
fun.
as long as I can help, right? It's having fun. It's trying to help out. So I'm glad. So this one was a bit of a stretch for me
Good.
because I was thinking opera, soap opera.
That
It's in the
works. No,
word.
I've stretched much further than that.
Yeah.
Opera, soap opera is great. I remember we had Erin Andrews on from Fox Sports, and we were talking about she has a clothing line called Wear, Wear, Wear by Erin Andrews. And I asked her a question, and the question was, what mythical beast can only be slayed by a silver bullet? And she's like, I don't know. She didn't get it right.
Ooh, I
Do you know
know.
the answer? What do you got, Mike?
Yeah, a werewolf.
A werewolf, yes.
Yeah.
And so I go, werewolf. She's like, why are you asking me about werewolves? I'm like, werewolf, Where by Erin Andrews. And like I could hear her eyes rolling through the Zoom because it was such a pathetic connection. And I love Erin and she was right. But listen, opera and soap opera, that's as strong as it gets. We don't do stronger than that. You're totally justified.
Okay, I'm glad you appreciate that. But yeah, so speaking of soap operas, we're kind of
Yeah.
going through your history and your resume. You were on Days of Our Lives for 3 or 4 years, right?
Yeah.
Somewhere around there. And how do you go from college football to theater to reality television to soap opera? And I understand your character had some pretty interesting storylines as well. How do you know, they say, hey, here's what's happening. He's going to lose a leg and then become a NASCAR driver.
Yeah.
How do you go out and do that, on
You
a,
don't.
on a daily
You
basis
don't.
without laughing?
Yeah. Well, you definitely don't do that. We laugh all day. I get those questions all the time. Like, they're like, those soap operas, like, do you guys know that it looks weird and it's really corny? I was like, of course we know. Of course we're standing there. Like, we always laugh at ourselves and laugh at our lines. And we try to do them as well as we can. But most of the time when they finally say cut, you laugh because the scenes always end and they'll be like, I just want you to know, Philip, that, you know, I'm really in love with Sean. And then they cut to you and you have to be like, and then it like goes to commercial, the self fabric softener. But like you have to hold that mysterious look for like 15 seconds, and it's not a normal human thing to do. So yes, you always laugh. And I laughed for 3.5 years, and not edit, just I had the best time in the world. I look at that as like my graduate school experience. Unbelievable, incredible time. Let's think about this. I'm 23. I'm trying to be an actor like everybody else in that town. I got a 3.5 year deal to be on Days of Our Lives, which means I'm going to be on NBC, you know, not Peacock or like NBC Sports Network, like the big dog, ding, 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 the Peacock logo, like legend, the Tonight Show, the Olympics. Like I was on that network at 23 years old for an hour every day, doing my lines and taking my shirt off and love scenes and all that. And to your point, like I played a Marine named Philip Kyriakis, and my Marine loses his leg in battle by way of a landmine, which was heavy, and we played it really heavy. And then I get back, and they decided that he was going to become a NASCAR driver, because I think they saw there was some sort of crossover in NASCAR fans and soap opera fans, which is not surprising. And I did raise the question quickly about like, now hold on. I'm no Jeff Gordon here, but I do think that maybe it might be difficult to operate the clutch, brake, and gas if you only have one actual human extremity down there. And they said, no, well, there'll be a custom prosthesis. And so, listen, you buy it. It's fine. And I did it, and I played it, and I loved it. And I have to tell you, the best part, like, someone might be, you know, listening to this, watching this, be like, soap operas, what a drag. You really want to listen. You make pretty good money. You get a lot of TV action. And on the weekends, they ship you off to a hardware store in Paducah, Kentucky, or the college rec center at Dickinson State University. And you give talks or you sign headshots to housewives. And then like you go out and you party after, and like they're really into the show and they're really into you. And you're really young and have nothing to lose. And so those weekends were wild. I have amazing, amazing memories of that time.
I'm noticing a trend. It was football and partying, it was the real world and partying, and now it's Days of Our Lives and partying. So
What is it? Work hard, play hard, you know, something, whatever the expression is. I tried to. Yeah, I still try to.
yeah, of course, of course. And what was that experience like? Just like you go to school and then you're on the real world, and then you go, I want to be an actor. So you move to LA, and just
Yeah.
the auditions and callbacks and rejections and all that leading up to getting Days of Our Lives, and then afterwards as well. I'm sure you were like, okay, how do I build off of
Yeah.
being on this soap opera? So just how did you deal with all that?
The audition process when you show up is absolutely brutal. In a way, I felt like I went through it when I was a senior in high school, because I was auditioning to be a Division I college football player, and I was just getting rejected, you know. And I was growing up in Chicago in the mid '90s when the coolest thing in the world was Big Ten football. Even Northwestern was really good at the time. Michigan, Ohio State. I was going to go to one of those. Notre Dame. My dad is a Notre Dame alumnus, and I started getting the letters, and oh my gosh, I'm going to go and I'm going to be in this on Brent Musburger's going to be calling my games on TV. And then, you don't get the handwritten letters, you get the form letters, and the signature is like a stamp at the bottom, and you realize they're not that into it. And then they disappear, and then it's the MAC, and then it's Division III, and you're like, it's just not going to happen. That was really hard. So you fast forward 6 years, I felt it was the same way when I was just going in, some decrepit auditioning casting director's office in the Valley to read for 2 lines in whatever CSI manifestation was big at the time that I was never going to get. Really tough. First audition I ever did was for the TV version of the movie Legally Blonde. They tried to make that into a TV show because Reese Witherspoon had just blown up that thing. And I played whatever resident, hunk, and terrible, terrible audition, just unbelievably, notoriously embarrassing. And I had a lot of those. And thank God Days of Our Lives came into my life. I did that for years. They liked me. The funniest thing was that when I was going in for my final screen test again, think about it, imagine a 3.5 year deal. I mean, it's like you're committing to a college. It's a really big commitment for a young person. And I'm going in and I'm like, I got to nail this. And I've worked on my lines and I'm just ready. And I'm going to pour all my heart into it. I'm going to reach down into my inner thespian and really just blow them away with my performance. I asked my agent, like right before I left, I said, what's your advice? Like, what's your advice? And I'll never forget this. She said, wear the tightest shirt you can find. And I was like, that's your advice? Not tap into my childhood or, make sure to make the light hit you right now. She's like, wear the tightest shirt you can find. So I went to the Gap that was on Sunset Boulevard, right next to the Chinese Theater, right, Walk of Stars. And they had this little like Lycra baby blue t-shirt. I actually, never mind baby blue. It might've been a baby Gap that I was in because the shirt could fit in the palm of my hand, but somehow I stretched it over my upper body. And to this day, it's probably why we're having this conversation. I'm sure all the 6 guys they screen tested read the lines the same, but none of them had a tighter shirt than I did. And that's what got me into that world. That's how you do it. That's the
I was
story.
gonna say, whatever it takes, right? Like whatever that differentiating factor is that you can do, whether it's a tight shirt or having a beard or not having a beard or whatever it is, like whatever makes you stand out. And they're like, yes, we want this one out of these. That's what you
That's
got to
the
do, right?
advice. And it was the best advice she could have given me. It wasn't her first time. And so, yeah, that's what got me there. Never mind, whatever education I had or life experiences. If I get the medium shirt or even the small, I believe it was an XS on the tag, extra small. I think if I get the small, I don't get the job.
Yeah, it was like a boys extra large or
Yeah.
adult, right? Extra small. It was like that
I think it
fine
was
line.
like a youth medium or something, whatever it was. I said, I'll take it. It was alarming. I think that at the Gap, it cost like $6.50 and I $6.50. And I'm like, I'll take it. And it worked.
Awesome. Hey, oh, and of course they just sent me a notification. We're running out of time here. Great.
Oh, well, come on, let's do it. I'm 2 out of wait, no, I'm 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
Hit
2
me.
out of 3. All right, let's go. Let's go. Category 4 is music. So we're going from classical music to classic rock. Are you a classic rock fan? Do you like the Beatles? Sure.
Yeah, as much as the next person. I listen to them on Sunday mornings when I make my kids breakfast.
Okay, so this might be a little harder for you then. All right, what Beatles song, and I'll give you the album, on Sgt. Pepper, starts with a rooster crowing and includes the German phrase Guten Morgen?
Guten Morgen, good morning. See, every time I listen to the Beatles, I just say like, Alexa, play the Beatles. So I don't think of them in my brain by album. It's just this crazy mix of Obladi, and the Yellow Submarines and, Strawberry Fields. So Guten Morning, you said was the phrase?
Guten Morgen, yeah.
That seems like someone starting their day. Is it Life Goes On? Is that song even on Sgt. Pepper's? No. What's the song?
You were so close. The wheels were there, and then you just went off.
Is it Strawberry Fields?
Good Morning, Good Morning is the name of it. So it starts right with the rooster crowing. It's like, time to wake up, like you just said. And Guten Morgen is German for good morning. And they say Mike, that towards the end. Why can't you give me
a question that's like, what is the Beatles song where they opine that you cannot purchase love? Like that one I got. Like I can handle that.
Because that's not relevant to the question I'm going to ask you about. So after soap operas, you go to the Jim Rome show, you're there, and now you're on Good Morning Football on the NFL Network. You see where I'm going with these, right?
Nice job.
What made you want to return to sports and get away from the acting, but you're still on camera and you're still doing, everything you're doing today?
Food and shelter and warmth. I was running out of
paying
all
the bills.
Yeah, like I have this thing about me. People think this is weird. When I go over and I flip up the light switch, I love when the light goes on. I get off on it. And if I had kept the acting thing any longer, the light was not going on, either literally or in my brain or any casting director's brain. Listen, I was running out of money. I was trying really hard to get in every half-ass pilot that they could put in front of me. And it just wasn't happening. I tried really hard for as long as I could. And the funny thing is that sports media seems like the dream. Being on Good Morning Football seems like a dream job, and it is. It's my plan B. Like, it's my fallback plan. They say if you're going to try to be an actor, I remember Robin Williams once said his dad's advice was learn how to be a welder, because that's what you're going to do. My welding is, in a way, is, talking about should the Cowboys pay Dak Prescott. It was the acting thing was this girl that I was chasing, and it never worked out. She wasn't interested in me. And then I went back to like my college girlfriend, and we found love again. And that was me returning to sports. And thank God the NFL Network was crazy enough or adventurous enough to be like, let's take that guy who's never played 1 second of NFL football and doesn't have inside sources just kind of as a wild card. And they took a jump on me. And over 1,000 episodes later, I'm hoping I'm making them proud they did.
Amazing. Yeah, not a bad fallback for you, career-wise or
Yeah.
anything like
You
that.
don't want to know what plan C was. It's unspeakable. Thank God they casted me.
I kind of do want to know because you're bringing it up, so I want to know.
Yeah, crime, probably petty theft, liquor store knockoffs. That would have been it.
They're like, there's some guy in a really tight T-shirt who's going around here robbing liquor stores.
He's got one leg. He peeled out of here in Dale Earnhardt's car. I recognize him, but no, thank God it didn't come to that.
Yeah, good thing. All right, awesome. Question 5, the last question. We're gonna test your, high school English and class and stuff like that. I'm sure we did a lot of mythology. I know I did. So we're gonna go to Greek mythology.
Mike, you're incredible. You are grilling me. Opera and Greek mythology and some Beatles song no one knows or gives a crap about? What is this? Give it to me.
Don't say that about the Beatles. Beatles are my favorite band.
No, that song is like a 9th level Beatles song. I don't know their whole album back.
But I'm doing it because it relates to the questions about you.
There's no Good Morning songs from Soundgarden or Alice in Chains or Metallica. Never mind. Now I'm taking it over. Just give me the question.
Okay. What dashingly handsome Greek hunter was so enamored with his own looks that he fell in love with his reflection in a pool of water?
Adonis. No. Wait. Shit. Adonis. I'm thinking of Vanity Smurf. There was a Smurf who carried a mirror around because he was so in love with himself. I guess I'll go with my first instinct. I know Adonis is more, that insinuation now is more about physique and your muscles.
Not necessarily being obsessed with oneself.
There's something about the word arrogant or conceited. Damn it. All right, this is when I'm supposed to think out loud. It helps the performance. I hate it when people just shut down and sit there for 30 seconds not saying anything. George Kittle was doing that to me the other day. It was killing me.
You're like, you got to keep it going. People need to listen to stuff.
Give me another damn clue.
Damn it. Another clue.
It's not. I know it's not. I thought Adonis for sure, but I think that you've kind of shaken me off that. Like,
yeah, it's not Adonis. That's more of the physical. So if someone is maybe narcissistic.
Oh, is it?
It's not a clue. It's not a clue. I'm literally
Narcissus. Is that his name?
Yeah, Narcissus.
Yeah, it's a great clue. Great clue. You got to lead into water, and then you see your reflection. It's perfect. It's all coming together. Narcissus.
Yeah.
Damn.
So yeah, I'm not saying you're narcissistic by any means, but I thought it would be a good time for self-reflection. Again, maybe a bit of a stretch on the questions, but I thought it was fun. You've had quite a career. We've touched on some of the major points from everything you've done. You've been in, deodorant commercials with Randy Johnson, and you've done stuff with Jose Canseco. You've interviewed everybody under the sun in pop culture and sports. Looking back on your career, knowing our time is limited, what's been the highlight and what's the future hold for you?
Well, thank you for the question. Getting cast in Good Morning Football was unbelievably special for reasons I already touched on. I played some college football, but I'm on the same network with LaDainian Tomlinson and Terrell Davis and people like that. It's nothing, but this is the NFL-owned network, and they decided to take the biggest risk on this wild card and sign me to this contract that was binding for a while. I was so flattered, and every single day I'm thankful for that. And then on top of that, I would say when I started 10 Questions, and I needed a really good contestant to start this thing. You can't roll out another podcast and say, hey, here's my buddy from college, and we're going to laugh and tell beer stories. And I reached out to Aaron Rodgers, who I didn't really know at the time. I had little contact with, and I laid out for him what I thought he would like about it and how it would go well for him. And I sent it to him in a DM on Twitter, and I just put myself out. It's one of those moments where you're like, I'm just going to jump, please, God. And he responded. He said, yes, I'm in. And he came on as my first contestant and was so good and so smart and so insightful. And he put the whole show on the map, and I owe a lot to him. So the fact that he thought enough of me and my vision, was just, this is the guy who's going to walk into the Hall of Fame again, a seminal figure in this era of sports and culture. So the fact that he would decide to do my brand new show, was kind of risky and kind of challenging, as we're learning here, Mike. Super flattering for me, and I still thank him.
So you reached out to Aaron on, you just DM'd him, you slid into his
Yeah.
DMs and
Yeah.
just said, "Hey, I have this new idea. Would you be interested?" And he was all on board.
He said, yes, I'll do it. Like, love to. And, you know, it was like Charlie Bucket getting the golden ticket. Like I was so flattered and so excited. And I ran and told my wife, and I was like, this is going to be great. And then it immediately legitimizes you. And he comes on and he makes huge news, and you're on every pickup and every network. And like, he does an hour and a half. He drank scotch the whole time. And it was, you know, one of the cooler 90-minute experiences of my career. It was on a Saturday night. It was really late. Like I said, there was about a bucket of scotch in front of him, and like, he just couldn't have been more comfortable and more casual or accessible. I think right now he's the best interview in sports. I really do. And he was the first one we did. So, and he got a 6 out of 10, which was just nice. Like, it wasn't like, the game worked. It wasn't a 2. It wasn't a 9. It was just a nice, beautiful 6. You know, it was like a pro golfer shooting like 72. You know, it was just right where we need it.
Yeah, yeah. It wasn't tough questions like the ones that I was asking you today. So
You know what? I'm going to
I
change my
apologize for
philosophy.
that.
I'm flattered that you asked me the tough questions. I think you might think that I'm more intelligent than I am, but I'm just going to take it as a compliment that we had opera and Greek gods and what year Mrs. Bleepin' O'Leary's cow kicked it over. I'm flattered by it.
But you knew about the cow, you knew Mrs. O'Leary, so I
Yes.
figured you kind of knew, the date or somewhere. But again, you were off by like 8 years. I
I
think
know.
most people would have just, not even been close. So the fact that you were
Yeah.
close.
I'm okay with that answer.
Yeah. No, no, I'm very impressed. I'm very
Thank
impressed.
you.
So, but now that we don't have this like shot clock running up against us, not that I want to keep you all day, but
Yeah. What do you got?
you've done so much in your career. What's kind of next? Are you looking for that next thing? Are you trying to get back into that? You said like that first passion of the acting and the theater, or you're like, I'm set, with that fallback plan in sports and just loving everything you're doing there with Good Morning Football and The Ringer and all those kinds of things.
I really, really, really like doing 10 questions. I've done some things that I think that aren't that great. I've done some things that I think are decent and some things that are pretty good. I think 10 questions is excellent. And I say that completely in all modesty. I think it's a really good, original, contagious piece of content. I do. I'm really proud of it. I'd like to do it for a long time. I'd like to do it with a live audience. I'd like to take it on the road. I'm really like, it's completely organic too. I write every single question. I came up with the concept. All the like the theme musics and the sound effects. I was involved in all of that. So it's just, the cliche way is to say it really is my baby, but it is. I'm very proud of it, very protective of it. About like the people that we have on, I'm very hands-on with that. They're all picked for a reason. There's a lot of people who are famous or have huge social media followings who we don't have on because I don't know, I just don't think it's a fit, or I don't think they'd be into it. And we've never had, I think we've done a few dozen episodes. We've never had an egg where it's someone is, what is these stupid questions? Who cares? Like, we haven't had a single one. Every single person has been in their own way engaged into the game, demanding to know about their score. Why did you ask me that? Which don't I deserve a point for this? It gets very competitive. And that is the secret sauce, is just take a podcast and inject competition and stakes, and you see them sit up straight and pay attention. It's really, I mean, look at me. I'm sitting here sweating about the guy looking at his reflection in the river. Like, people get really invested if you tell them they're going to be scored in this. And I'd love to take it everywhere.
Awesome. So you said Aaron has been, one of your best.
Yeah.
Has he been the best guest for you? And who's someone maybe too that you're like, without saying like we got X, Y, and Z coming up next, but who is someone that you would love to have, on 10 questions?
Well, today we had a huge moment where we just booked, sort of crowdsourced booked the Josh Allen, the Bills quarterback, because I've wanted to get him for a while. And he's just a busy guy. He's in California in the offseason. I finally said, I went on Twitter today and I just said, I'd really like to have at Josh Allen on the show. Bills fans, you think you might help me recruit him? Tweeted it. And like, they're maniacs in the most beautiful way. The Bills Mafia. They start tweeting this, tweeting at the coach, tweeting at Josh's significant other, tweeting at the GM, just in 57 minutes after that tweet, I get an email from the Buffalo Bills head of PR. he says, he's in. When do you want him? Can you do next week? 57 minutes. That is an unbelievable testament to the Bills fans and their adoration of this show that I've done. So Josh Allen's coming on next week, totally crowdsourced, sort of a little bit bullied, but I prefer the crowdsourced term. So he's coming on.
Persuaded, right? Not
Persuaded,
bullied.
persuaded / coerced. And so whatever it takes, he's coming on. But that's great. In terms of the dream contestant, I really get off on people who don't do a lot, who aren't everywhere, who don't do much media, asking them questions they don't answer a lot. I would really like to have Keanu on. And I'm talking about the OG Keanu. I'm not talking about the safety in the NFL or Keanu the cat, that movie that Key and Peele. I'm talking about Keanu Reeves, the Godfather Keanu. For a million reasons, the body of work is incredible. The background's interesting. He also just has, like, I feel like in the podcast space, if you bring on someone who just has a unique identifiable voice, like, you're halfway home. It doesn't even, that's 50%. The second you say, Keanu, thanks for doing the show. And he's like, thank you for having me. Like, immediately I got it. Like, that's everyone listening is like, oh, hell yeah, Keanu. Or I feel the same way. I've always really wanted to have Schwarzenegger. He would be that times 10. So Keanu and Schwarzenegger and, you know, I am actually a huge fan of Kristen Wiig. I'd like to have her on. There's a million people. Those are some of the names that jump to the top of the list, though.
Sounds like you got to take the social media and start persuading them to come on the show as well.
Yeah, I guess I go to like John Wick fans and Bill and Ted enthusiasts and Bridesmaids fans and say, hey, wouldn't it be great if @Kristen Wiig came on the show? And then maybe we can do that again, because I'm not above it, obviously, especially when it works.
Hey, listen, I do the same thing. I message people and do the same,
Yeah.
do all of that. And I'm just like, hey, you got time for an interview? Or hey, can I ask you about so and so?
When you
So
get that response, isn't it sweet?
exactly,
It's
yeah.
so good.
Because that's also what differentiates, you from another podcast or from another, interview or something like that, where it's like they think of, you're going down this way and you're the one taking the initiative and going kind of the other way.
It's
So
awesome.
no, I completely can relate to that. So awesome. Cool. Well, I don't want to take up any more of your time. I'm sure you got a busy day and a bunch of other stuff to do. You got to prep for Josh and start, harassing
Right.
Keanu Reeves on social media. So thank you so much for chatting and playing. I hope you had some fun. I hope the questions weren't too hard. But yeah, this was an absolute blast. Thank you, Kyle. I appreciate it.
I loved it. It was really well researched, well prepared. Thank you for doing it. I cut a couple of times. I was glancing at your very subtle Yankees hat and Giants water thing and the tight list thing. That's your brand, and I get it and I respect it. But Mike, thank you for all the obvious research and time you put into this. I'm very flattered and happy to do it.